Good afternoon, everybody. What a pressure. I heard so many digital terms, digitalization during the last two sessions. What a pressure. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here today for the first time. Only 10 days after joining the company in the role officially. And you might think, okay, what is going to talk about after only 10 days? So I'd like to achieve two things with you today. The first one is, I think I will talk a little bit about myself and what I've seen in the company in the last days. And the second thing is talking about our way to digital healthcare within the company. So a little bit about myself. All my life in IT, in digital, mainly in transformation. Many different industry. You see here 7 or 8 different industry. And half of my life or professional life in the healthcare sector. On the soft side, people would describe me as a curious, out-of-the-box person, all around the place, maybe sometimes in terms of imagination and creativity. But I would describe myself someone which is, let's say, passionate about technology and what it can do to people, what we can change on people's day-to-day life. And this led to a little story when I was in my previous company where we were developing a new solution for diabetes patients. And we were finishing the development of a hardware piece, which was a sensor, implantable sensor that you inject and put in your arm. And I was in charge of digital services. And I wanted to really put myself into the customer and try to help the development of this sensor. So I injected a sensor, I implanted a sensor in my arm, and worked with the team to improve the application. But what I found was not that we can really make a difference on the application side. What I found, and this is why I'm here in healthcare now, is we can really make a difference in the patient and what it is to carry a disease on the day-to-day basis and what it means for people and how we make the difference to them. What I've seen in 24 days, I think I lie a bit. I said 10 days officially in the role. I've been much longer in the company, 3 times longer, 24 days in the company. The first thing is I met a lot of people. I met more than 500 people, and I think I can add probably 200 in the last 2 days, having discussion and interaction. And what I found is very open and very engaged people. I've also been to many sites, more than 10 sites in the US, in Canada, and in Germany. And there, clearly, I've seen diverse expertise, very deep and diverse expertise. Being the Princeton team on AI, being the team in San Francisco on the incubation, Medicalis, the team in Erlangen and Forcham, amazing knowledge we have in the house. I also started to do a deep dive on the portfolio, being the modalities portfolio, and also on the, obviously, digital services portfolio. And I've seen amazing product. Yesterday, I've seen additional product coming to the market this morning as well. Really amazing product. Last but not least, I had also the opportunity to engage with a lot of customers, more than 20 customers from various continents and countries. And what I heard from them is first, we are a trusted partner. They have a lot of problems to be fixed. And they are eager to engage and co-create with us. All in all, what I heard in these 4 or 5 weeks is that there is no doubt about digitalization, and I think the last 2 days is the proof. There is no doubt about that healthcare will get through digitalization like other industry, but there are questions. There are questions, how are we going to make it? How fast will this happen? How are we going to make money? They are the questions that I heard. Now, if you ask me, what is the most surprising things I have found in the last month? I think the first thing is that we're not at the beginning. There is a lot of things going on in the company. A lot, everywhere, in the modalities, in digital services, in ES, yesterday in customer services, there is a lot of things going on. What it also means that there is a legacy and there is some history. We might have failed on some project, have a reputation there. We might be successful on others. So this is something to keep in mind. Now, the biggest question I have inside me now, after these 4 or 5 weeks, is how can make this bolder? How can we make this bolder? I got also a question which was very interesting, is why I joined this company. And in the discussion with Bernd, with Michael, with Jochen, I came very quickly to the conclusion in my head that we have the same view on where healthcare is going to be in the future. And the answer for me is simple. This is the value promises. This is exactly where healthcare is going to be, and this is exactly where we're going to play. I also like the view of the board on the commitment on digitalization and the willing to invest and go on the digitalization. Not for the sake of doing digital for doing digital, like a lot of companies doing at the moment as a buzzword somewhere, but really using digital as a mean to an end to enable our value promises. The other thing which I really like is the way we're going to do it. We will do it by growing out of our current businesses, where we're very strong. To illustrate that, I show the 100% of a typical hospital spend. Today, with our core business, we target the 2% of the spend of an hospital, which is already a lot of money and where we are already very successful. The digital services, and of course, where we want to go and climb the ladder, we will go in other areas. We're going to grab other areas and offer services on our other areas. And we already do with the portfolio. Maybe one thing I could offer to the audience today is I've seen various interpretations of what does digital mean. I heard digital is IT. I heard digital is AI. I've also heard digital yesterday is online. Digital is much more than that. And let me just give a quick overview. What do I mean by digital and digitalization? The first thing is, or the first ingredient is customer centricity. Why customer centricity? Why customer centricity? The first one is obviously we need to understand very well our customers because we are trying to solve problems that nobody has solved before. So we better be close to them to understand what problem we are solving. And the second reason on customer centricity is obviously you are users of digital solutions on an everyday basis, like me on your iPhone, online. And you know that if you want a solution to stick, you need, and you better, that is close to the customer to be able to use it. The second ingredient, which is very important, and we heard many times, is data. And not all access to data. And why data? Because with data, you can apply some technology, you can apply AI on this, and get insight and create value. More data, smarter insight, more value. The third element, which is key in digitalization, is new business model. In fact, it's enabling new business model. And I think this is the most scary one for a lot of people for two reasons. The first one is this is where the disruption is coming from. This is what has disrupted many, many other industries, is the change of paradigm in the business model. In pricing, going from flat fee to per use, going to per capita, freemium to premium. So this is the disruptive piece. It's very difficult to put in place, obviously. This is challenging. And that's the second reason why business model, we are uncomfortable with it, with the new business model, because it's very complex to put in place, first internally, but also toward the market. The market needs to be ready. And finally, obviously, digital or digitalization is about technology. It's about software. It's about services. It's about AI. It's about cloud. It's about this technology. What I would like to do now is just to show the transition we're making, that we have already started, from a classical transaction model on software, where we are pretty well acquainted. So we sell a software to a customer, to an hospital, to a lab. We install that on premise at the customer site. Customers is using, creating data. Maybe it generates some value on the customer side, sometimes not. We know the IT project, how it is, and we get paid for it on license and maybe maintenance. Where we are going to is this is what I call the digital loop, or the happy digital loop. Why is this? We want to take a bigger part of the value chain. This is the orange piece you see here with these ingredients. We want to have access to data, or own the data, probably, apply technology to this data, provide a service to a customer. And with this, we can improve the service through this loop, we can generate recurring business and continuous business transaction. What we have heard yesterday from customer service from Wolfgang is nothing than that. It keeps Wolfgang happy because he created this loop with the online services, for example. This is nothing what Google is doing as well. Now we want to go further than that. Now imagine we have multiple of this loop with one customer, with different solutions, and you multiply this. And then you have all this data that start to be aggregated, and you can tap into this information. Exactly what our chairman mentioned this morning. You have this information available. You can improve AI. You can improve services. You can tap into offering to third party access to this information and this platform to create new offering. It's what we call an ecosystem. That starts to be big. This is where we are going to. Now we'll pause. And I would like to invite 4 people on stage to talk a bit about our today's customer group targets and show a couple of examples of what we have in our digital portfolio. So for this, I'd like to invite Rama, Thomas, Jörg, and Fahim.
Sorry, I was thirsty.
No problem. Rama, can you tell us a bit more about the target customer group we are targeting today?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Jan. Happy to give you an overview of the current target group. Yeah, digital services can add value to your customers. And it was actually yesterday interesting day for me, and what we have learned from the customer panel, inspiring one led by Rada, was that at the end of the day, we see today a consolidation of providers in many markets drive the need for harmonization of IT systems. Yeah? Community hospitals, small clinics are being acquired and entered into the network. Of course, all of them come with their own in-house developed information system, or already invested in vendors like Epic, Cerner, and Allscript. But still, they have the necessity to have a customer-centric clinical data to collaborate across the network. So what value can you add, or digital services can add to your customers in the future, or we are already doing now? Yeah? First of all, we protect their current existing investment, while at the same time breaking down the barriers of their isolated IT systems. To, of course, ultimately ensure a seamless integration and collaboration across the network on a patient-centric clinical data and result. So I took actually this example, and the reason why I did was because e-health solution doesn't mean that it's only necessarily for Austria, yeah, or Swiss Post, but with e-health solution you can also start with one single hospital who has the intention of expanding it to a network group in the area. So therefore I would really like to thank the Portugal team for planting the seed and moving e-health to the Portugal country. Thank you very much. Please give a hand. So the second customer target group who are facing enormous pressure due to maintaining multiple isolated data storages. We heard yesterday from Rada's customers what they were saying. Every department is perfected on their own. They don't want to share data because that means they will lose control out of it. But how can you help them with the digital services? What we provide is, or what we do is, we consolidate their fragmented archiving infrastructure into one central repository. And doing that helps them to save costs and ultimately improve patient care. I took this example from Australia. The reason being, usually when we start with vendor-neutral archive, we start from our own core cardiology or radiology or imaging department. But Michael said we need to show that we are able to do the non-DICOM data. Yeah? So this is the first hospital in APC region to install a surgical video archiving system. Yeah? And a big thank you, because you didn't only win and install the deal, but now it's expanding to outside of the Adelaide area. Yeah? Thanks a lot. Last but not least, imaging centers. I mean, they are expected, of course, to increase throughput. Yeah? And what can we do to help them? Because they are the way, of course, when we add new networks to the into the clinics, everybody has a different hospital information system. The same applies for the departmental services. Everybody comes with its own different risk packs from GE, from Siemens, and from Agfa. So our Medicalis workflow orchestration, it helps them to coordinate reading, reporting across multiple disparate sites and increase productivity performance and communication through one reporting, universal reporting work list. That means radiologist gets the right exam, the right patient from the right site. And then Brian, Nam, well done, to establishing this site as a reference site for the future to visit our customers. Yeah, thank you. So I think everybody was talking about go-to-market model. Yeah, so go-to-market, of course, it's when it comes to our imaging business, everybody knows how we tackle actually the CMOs, radiologists, and how to expand into this hospital. But when it comes to digital business, as Jan already mentioned, it's about recurring business. So most of our customers, they only have maybe 1 year or 2 year subscription, which means they could end up not using our system. So what do we need? A new dedicated digital go-to-market model and an improved customer engaging model to focus on value realization and drive the customer success to boost stickiness. So what does it mean, stickiness? Stickiness means if our customers are happy, they're using our system, and we are constantly engaging them to make sure that they are happy, they stay with us. So that means we increase our recurring business by not only focusing on the selling phase, but also ensuring the customer experience is kept and kept engaged. Then what happens if the customer is staying in our loop? He's happy. We also demand further business offerings. So actually, I would like to pause for a second and really thank, for example, the regions which we have rolled out. Latin America, Sungu also helped us to shape and get out of, okay, nobody cares about which business area, the orders are being booked or the people are being dropped, but let's focus on the model, which is just focusing how do we make the customer happy. Asia Pacific, Elizabeth was a big champion, but however, I would really want to give a big thank you to Bernd and his team, the EMEA leadership. They didn't only embrace it, but they actively shaped the model together with us. Thank you so much. So as everybody was working to keep the customer in our digital platform, Thomas, can you tell us how we can grow business out of the platform approach?
Yeah, thank you, Rama. I'll certainly try. And I come to one of those happy digital cycles that we started 4 years ago, roughly, with a scrappy experiment, and where the first real customers got connected in May 15, actually. And this year, also a big thank you to all the regions. We had a target to grow to more than 1,000 customers with more than 3,500 locations, which you made. So thank you very much. We try to be as agile as possible. Also on the slides, 53 countries served out of 8 data centers in the meantime. And China, we have a cloud deployment there already. It's actually 55. Egypt just got approved this week, actually. And what is also very important for us, we tried new business models with that. We went to a freemium model, and out of those customers, 15%, 150 customers, are paying customers who subscribe to our premium services right now, which is also what we wanted to achieve this year. So also, I think, a good point and a good starting point to do more. What I very much like are the examples that I hear occasionally, and I look at Michael for an example from Tamworth Hospital, where we worked with the local team. We encountered new data types that we couldn't handle on the dose side, and then there was one call with Cameron from Australia where he said, well, the customer came back to us, you need to fix that quickly, you need to be able to handle that type of data because we rely so much on the utilization in the meantime, and we want to show the entire data to the customers. We did that, and eventually the team internally also recommended to the management, hey, we should use that broadly. And the other is an example from Germany. I saw Stefan sitting there in Freiburg just recently. The internal audit team went to the radiology and they used the data and the system to justify to them the investment in some equipment from us. So it's not only the optimization, but also just looking into their operations. And then since image sharing has always been a part of the functionality where we wanted to build applications on top, you saw the AI examples. The chest reading assistant will be made available to that cloud user base or that cloud connected base as a first step, and then also on premise. We have third-party applications working on that. MUSC just this week also said they see a benefit in connecting to HeartFlow through our platform. They essentially have other startups that they want to work through the platform, and it makes their discussion with the internal IT easier. And then last but not least, we are collecting data at large scale. So at the moment, we have 60, 70 million procedure data points, metadata points, that feed back into the application, obviously, to every user of the system, but that also help us on the consulting services side. So we have the asset planning sessions, for example, from the installed base development. We do have consultative offerings where even some customized dashboards are being built in locations, and we can reuse that infrastructure to essentially grow out of that happy digital cycle that we started back then with that scrappy experiment. And with that, I would hand over and ask Jörg to tell us a little bit about more solutions that are upcoming in the near future.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. So how can healthcare providers actually create value out of data? Yeah, so we heard about that they at first hand need to generate data accurately, then also going into an aggregation phase where they then set on top the analyzing part. We're using technology like AI to create meaningful insights out of this data. And maybe also the biggest step into that is how could they operationalize their data to ultimately achieve better care out of this one. And I want to briefly touch on a concept that was already shown briefly, and I want to elaborate on this one in regards to how do we build digital projects in that area by applying this data aggregation approach to it. So it's basically settled into having longitudinal patient data at hand, combining this one with in vitro and in vivo data, adding the knowledge out of the cohort. The cohort is important because if you can, at the very point of time where you do have a holistic data situation of the patient, add value out of similar patients, this could then easily help you in regards to where is my patient in the pathway, and that's basically what the goal is of this application. By providing values like an accurate risk assessment, like improved diagnostic decisions, and also enabling a therapy option space. What we did there was a co-creation approach, which is crucial, I'd say, for digitalization. So it was an internal co-creation approach, so we worked in cross-functional teams on that. We worked together with the customers, the leading institutions for the pathways where we prototype those applications, basically 3 oncology pathways, lung, breast, and prostate cancer, and 1 in cardiology, so coronary artery disease, and did this together with our customers to achieve a solution that looks like this. And what you see here is the software that we will deliver to that one in the first hand, combining longitudinal data to ensure a proper regional risk assessment, so that you can see at the very below that you have the NCCN risk assessment in here incorporated. So it's about the contextualization of the data at the right point of time for the right decisions. Then combining the diagnostic results together. Like what you see here for prostate cancer, for example, is the combination of biopsy data and results and findings together with the imaging data at one point of time to drive multidisciplinary decisions. And last but not least, we will be able to translate textual guidelines into Google Maps-like paths. Those Google Maps-like paths are then built into the system, and we are able to map the current data situation of the patient into the pathway. So that enables you to get a vision on what are the next best steps, what is my therapy option space. And this one, like was already mentioned, we call it the Pathway Companion. We will launch this at this year's RSNA and also at the biggest healthcare IT show, so at HIMSS. So stay tuned with that one. So also going over to things that we want to incorporate from there, like incubation projects, and I would like to hand over to Fahim.
Thank you, Jörg. So one thing that's been missing in the discussion so far is people. We've talked a little bit about patients, but do we think we're going to transform care delivery without taking care of the people that need to deliver that care? And do we also think we're going to do this massive digitalization of healthcare on our own? I think we need to find ways to engage the broader ecosystem around us. And I don't just mean the technical ecosystem. I mean engaging the energy, passion, and tenacity of startups and entrepreneurs and innovators, and find ways to get them to work with us and engage with us very, very deeply. And to that end, we started an experiment. And I say we, but the man who started it is right here. Matthias, thank you for bringing me in. And what Matthias's idea was last year was, why don't we create a virtual startup? Why don't we build a startup to understand how startups work and use that startup to incubate an incubator, which will then create more startups for us? It's a very interesting idea. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit about that journey in 2 minutes. So the first thing we do as an incubator is we explore a problem. We don't start with an idea or a concept or a technology. We start with a problem. In this case, we start with the problem of the workforce of a hospital. We looked at workforce optimization, and we called this startup, we didn't give this a name. We kept it very much in stealth, but the word has gotten out. So I want to ask right now, before I go further, how many of you have heard about this top secret, super stealth startup called Humanix? Hands up. Oh, crap. All right. So we're not Apple-level security on future projects, right? But this is a future project, something we're incubating. And it started with a lot of insights from the people we're trying to help, the nurses, the people on the front lines. And we collected a lot of those insights, and then we started validating concepts out there. And instead of building technology, we built mock-ups, we built explorations, we built conversations, and we spent, literally, my team has spent in the last year 90 days on site at hospitals, shadowing nurses, shadowing technicians, shadowing clinicians, and talking to the executives and showing them maybe, I don't know, at this point, 100 or so concepts on different features. And then we prioritized the best of those, and we turned those napkin sketches into prototypes. Simple prototypes that you can build in 4 weeks, more complex prototypes that take about 3 months, and living prototypes that you can actually deploy. We went from a napkin sketch to a fully live deployment in 6 months. And we got 200 nurses to use our application, a cloud-based application, on a mobile phone on both Android and iOS. And we learned a few things. People are not machines. It sounds obvious, but you cannot predict what people do. And you certainly cannot predict what nurses do. They don't remember the passwords. You give them the Siemens security requirements, and no, sir, it doesn't work. You cannot train them. Why? They don't have time. We don't have enough nurses in the entire United States. So nobody has time for training. So how do you make it something you can just pick up and use instantly, like any Apple app? So we went back to the drawing board. We thought a lot about the architecture, the data model. We also learned something new. 20% of those nurses leave the hospital every year. 20%. In some of the hospitals, it's more like 25 or even 30%. So how do you architect a data model that allows them to carry their account credentials with them as they go to a different hospital? Or, heaven forbid, they work at 2 hospitals at the same time, which about a third of them do. So we rebuilt it. And in the last 9 months, we've built a brand, a new product, a new architecture, a new technology. And this week, we're rolling it out to a hospital. Now, the competition is legacy. GE has legacy applications. Everybody has some crappy on-premise stuff where they don't collect the data. Ours looks better, it works better, but the proof is in the pudding. The competition takes 12 to 14 months to go live, to implement. If I go to that CIO and say, use my product because it looks nicer, and your nurses love it, they're going to say, I don't care what the nurses think. It's going to take me time, it's going to take training. So my bar is I cannot afford 12 months of implementation and training. So we set our goal, very first go live has to be 4 months, which, by the way, is the best reference for GE. And if I can do my first go live in 4 months, and I will go live with 1,000 nurses in 4 months, and we automate the heck out of this, chatbots for customer success, AI, predictive, all of that stuff, then we have a hope in hell of replacing that market. And this has gotten so many people fired up that the ANA, the American Nurses Association, has chosen to partner with Siemens as their innovation lab partner. So in 2 weeks, we're at their annual conference, the big innovation lab powered by Siemens Healthineers, you're gonna like it, and the ANA. And we're not out of the woods yet. So we don't quite know what the business model is going to be. There are many things we could do. We can try freemium, we can try premium, we can try upgrades, we can try so many things that we could sell. We're going to figure that out. We're going to take that next year to really explore the right way to monetize this in the most efficient way. And then we'll hand it over back to DS to make this our future product. Handing it over to you.
Thank you, Fahim. Thank you, guys. Quickly, just to comment, since the organization is new, we need to co-create and collaborate not only outside, but also inside. Very important topic. 2 areas that we will surely have to collaborate with the business area, with the zones, but also with the support function, with ES. Customer service will be on data architecture, will be on selling and the go-to-market approach. So just want to make sure that here we will engage for collaborating more. And I think we're going to skip the video, and I'm going to go straight to the closing. So I could not close this session without not showing our commitments for 2023. And I will mention 3 or highlight 3. We will process data on 1 billion lives by 2023 to increase and improve our products, services, and make the life easier for our customer and make our customer more successful. We'll be the leader in healthcare in AI. And obviously, we want to have a strong growth in terms of organic revenue to contribute to Healthineers revenues. It's up to us to shape the digitalization of healthcare. Thank you.